The cage rattled with every scream. Outside, men laughed and passed around bottles of whiskey as if they were at a rodeo, not watching a woman fight for her life. The barn stank of sweat, blood, and hay gone sour. The gamblers' boots scraped against the dirt as they circled the pen, shouting bets. $2 says she won't make it through the night, one yelled. Another barked, 10 says the baby comes out stillborn. And they laughed. Oh, they laughed like devils in the firelight. The woman inside the cage was young, maybe 20, though the scars on her face made her look older. Her hair, once black as a crow's wing, clung to her sweat-soaked cheeks. Her name was gone, burned away the day they branded her with a wooden tag that read only number 8. That was who she was now. Number 8, property of Reed Talbot, the man who turned human misery into sport. She bit down on the corner of a dirty rag to stifle another scream. Blood ran down her thighs. Her body trembled from exhaustion, but her eyes, dark and alive, still burned with something fierce, hope. She whispered to the life inside her, her voice trembling like wind through dry grass. "Hold on, little one. Just hold on," the men jeered. "Look at her whispering to that brat. She's talking to a corpse already," one spat. A bottle shattered near the cage, and the smell of liquor mixed with the iron scent of blood. Reed Talbot leaned against a post, his black hat tilted low, cigar glowing between his teeth. His voice slithered through the room. "She'll give us a show, boys. Ain't no fun in watching her die quiet. Keep her awake." One of his men jabbed a stick through the bars, hitting her shoulder. She flinched, but didn't cry. The gamblers roared with laughter. Outside, thunder rolled. A storm was brewing on the plains. Wind swept through the cracks of the old barn, rattling the lanterns. One by one, they flickered and hissed. Then came the sound of boots, heavy, slow, purposeful. Every head turned toward the barn doors as they creaked open. A man stood in the doorway, framed by the lightning behind him. He was tall, broad-shouldered, coat soaked with rain. His face was half hidden under the brim of his hat, but the eyes, cold, grey and sharp as cut stone, cut through the gloom. Talbot's voice carried over the noise. "Evening, stranger. You come to place a bet?" The man stepped inside, his boots sinking into the muddy floor. "Maybe," he said, his tone calm, almost quiet. "What's the game?" Talbot grinned, showing yellow teeth. "Right there in the cage. Girl's giving birth. We bet whether she or the brat lasts till dawn. You in?" The stranger's gaze drifted toward the cage. The woman was on her knees, gripping the bars, eyes wide with pain. He saw her ribs pressing through her skin, the bruises, the fear. And he froze. For a second, the room faded. He saw another face, another woman long buried, her hands reaching toward him in the same desperate plea. He took a slow breath. "Yeah," he said softly. "I'm in." The men cheered. Coins clattered. The stranger moved closer, standing by the cage. Number 8 lifted her head, her vision blurred with tears. Their eyes met. Something flickered between them, recognition of the human left inside each other. Her voice came out as a whisper. "Don't let them take her, please." He swallowed hard. "I won't," he said. Talbot snapped his fingers and the crowd hushed. "Let's see if our little mare's got one last push in her," the woman cried out, clutching her belly. The midwife, an older woman with trembling hands, knelt by her, whispering prayers under her breath. "Push, child." One more time. The stranger's hand twitched toward his hip. His revolver gleamed in the lantern light. Talbot noticed. "Now hold on there, cowboy," he sneered. "Ain't no need for iron here. This is entertainment." The stranger's voice dropped, low and dangerous. "Not anymore." Before Talbot could move, the revolver barked once. The bullet hit the lock on the cage, sending shards of iron flying. The gamblers scattered, cursing, ducking behind barrels. The woman screamed, not in fear, but from the final push of life tearing through her. And then, a cry. Small, fragile, a baby's first breath. For a moment, the barn was silent. The stranger holstered his gun, knelt, and tore open the cage door. He dropped his coat onto the straw, wrapping it around the shaking woman and the newborn she cradled. "It's over," he said softly. She looked up at him through tears. Who are you?" He hesitated. "Just someone who's done watching the world burn." The baby cried louder. The gambler's laughter was gone now, replaced with the sound of retreating boots as men stumbled for the exits. Talbot, red-faced and shaking with rage, pulled his gun. "You don't know who you're messing with, boy." The stranger didn't flinch. He rose slowly, placing himself between the woman and Talbot. "You're right," he said. "I don't, and I don't care." Talbot fired. The shot missed by inches. The stranger moved like lightning. His revolver roared 3 times, each shot echoing off the walls. When the smoke cleared, Talbot lay sprawled across the dirt, cigar still smouldering beside him. The stranger turned back. The woman was crying softly, clutching the baby to her chest. Blood soaked the straw beneath her. "Please," she whispered, "don't let them take her." He knelt, pressing a hand to her shoulder. "Ain't no one taking her. Not while I breathe." He took the baby gently, wrapping her tighter in the coat. The tiny thing looked up at him, eyes blinking through the dim light. He smiled, just barely. "Hey there, little one." The woman reached up weakly. "They never gave me a name," she said, "only a number." The stranger looked at her, his expression softening. "Then you'll have one now." He thought for a long moment. The storm raged outside, thunder cracking like gunfire across the plains. Then he said, "Hope." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Hope," she whispered, as if testing the word for the first time. "That's beautiful." He nodded. "It suits you both." But her eyes began to dim. The pain had taken too much. He saw it in her trembling hands, the slowing breath. "Stay with me," he urged. "Don't you quit on me now." She smiled faintly. "She's free now. That's all I wanted." Then her hand went still. The stranger sat in silence, head bowed, rain beginning to drip through the cracks of the roof. For a long time, all that could be heard was the soft, steady cry of the newborn in his arms. When he finally rose, he looked around at the empty barn, the overturned tables, the broken bottles, the smoldering lamps. The place reeked of death and greed. He pulled one of the fallen lanterns from the ground, smashed it against a beam, and watched the flames catch. By the time he rode out into the storm, the barn was burning behind him, fire lighting up the sky like dawn. He didn't look back. He rode west, cradling the baby in one arm, the rain washing the blood from his coat. He whispered softly to her as they rode through the night. "Ain't nobody gonna cage you, Hope. Not ever again." Weeks passed. Word spread across the frontier about a man who'd burned Talbot's place to the ground and vanished with one of his slaves. Some said he was a lawman gone rogue. Others swore he was a ghost, back from the war to make things right. No one knew for sure. But somewhere beyond the mountains, in a small cabin by a river, a man could be seen every morning feeding a tiny baby, humming softly while the dawn rose over the plains. He talked to her as if she could understand every word. "You don't belong to pain, little one," he'd say. "You belong to the light." And as the years rolled on, the child grew. Her hair dark as her mother's, her smile bright as the sun she'd never seen that night she was born. She never knew the cage, never knew the laughter of cruel men. Only stories, stories of a woman who refused to die nameless, and a stranger who chose mercy over bullets. One evening, as the sun bled red across the sky, the little girl pointed at a lone hawk circling above. "What's it doing, Papa?" she asked. The man smiled. "It's free," he said simply, "just like you." And in that moment, somewhere in the wind that swept through the canyons and carried the scent of rain and wildflowers, there was the faintest whisper, soft, almost a sigh. "Thank you." The man looked toward the horizon and tipped his hat. He never saw the cage again, but he never forgot the woman who'd given birth inside one, nor the courage it took for her to look at the world's cruelty and bring life into it anyway. They said she died nameless, but they were wrong, because somewhere a little girl named Hope was learning to ride, to laugh, and to live free, and that was her name, not a number. Never again.